live streaming. So, call the meeting to order. I'll start with the reconciliation statement. Augusta Township is situated on lands deeply connected to the Haudenosaunee, Ashnabek, and Arrowintent. We acknowledge the location of the archaeological sites, identifying both an Iroquoian agricultural community and an Iroquoian village in the township. With gratitude and respect, we are committed to learning about the history of and current aspirations of Indigenous peoples, such as uncovering the truth about residential schools and cultural revitalization. We recognize and respect the contributions they have made and continue to make on these lands. So, I got my mayor's remarks next. Okay, I just want to,
I think there's a machine.
Take a 2-minute break to check the live streaming.
okay, we're just checking our live streaming.
I think it's okay.
Okay, I guess we can continue.
Yeah.
So, where was I? The deputy mayor and myself and our wives attended the Legion for their Mother's Day breakfast. It was good, and a good turnout. I think they made about $2,100 or something like that. Plus, they got a donation of $1,000, not from us, but every bit helped. Oh, and Councillor Pape was there.
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time.
Different city.
Anybody else there? No? Good. So, it was a good event. Some of us went to Natera last week and took a tour through that, and plus they gave us an educational session. It was informative, and again, product that's gone all over the world, and it was interesting to sit there and go through it. The opening for V6 Agronomy was supposed to happen last week, but they decided to push it back a month because of the planting season, so it's gonna be rescheduled for sometime in June. So that's Brian Brophy's business on the County Road 2 there, so once we know the date, we'll pass it on. The Dream Big Summit, that Judy and Economic Development Committee held was a great success. We had 50-some people there. Lunch was good. A lot of food left over, but it was good. And the speakers were very well too. So everybody had a chance to talk to our network together, so it was good that way. We also, I think most of us, except for Councillor Bowman, attended the Cabin Company show house, you might say, on the Rue Mills Road. So we went there for the launch, and it was quite interesting. A beautiful site. They pictured it right on a cliff overlooking a pond. So if you get the chance, take a look at it. So as soon as you turn off County Road 2, just turn around the corner of LaRue Mills, and it's right there. So now I got thinking over the weekend, Cabin Company. I've been dealing with Jackson Wyatt for 3 years, but I really haven't told council anything about it because all we've had is just talks. So he's in the business of building these homes, and I forget different types of different amount of square footage, different shapes and everything else. So he invited Augusta because when we talked about a year and a half ago, we picked out 4 sites in Augusta Township that he could possibly start a community with these. And when I heard it was up to 50 or 60, which was kind of shocking to me too, I was thinking 2 or 3, but anyway, that's as far as it went because we have not sat down with him. He hasn't brought a plan to us on which property you think would be best. No deals were made, just to let you know. So we looked at 3 sites in the Maynard area, and we looked at 1 site in North Augusta. So, but again, I think the Falls and Hits Court's next is to come back and with either a site plan or an idea or what to do. So, but the press release was good and everything. So anyway, and we found out more information about the houses, and they're really a lot of room in them when you start looking at them, so. And that was about it since the last, meeting. All right, continue with the agenda. So first we have approval of the agenda, moved by Councillor Pape, seconded by Deputy Mayor Winans, be resolved that the agenda for May 23rd, 2023 as amended. And is there any other changes to it? Have they had the changes? They haven't got the changes.
I just wanna verbalize the changes, I believe they were both emailed.
Yes,
Just the
one was, the Bill 5, the support,
correspondence, yeah.
and the other one was,
Council
My
Pape's
report for CRP.
report.
yes, on the report, okay. So if there's no questions or anything to add on that, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Next, we have approval of minutes of previous meeting. Moved by Deputy Mayor Winans, seconded by Councillor Pape. Be it resolved that council approve the minutes of May 8th, 2023 council meeting as distributed to all members. Was there any corrections to be made in that or anything, conditions? Nobody. I'll call the question, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest and any general nature thereof? Anybody have anything? No? Okay. Any business arising for the minutes? No delegations, presentations tonight? Any correspondence and petitions tonight? No?
Correspondence.
Correspondence?
Yeah, two correspondence.
Sorry. Oh, yes, yes. Okay, we have the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville Agricultural Area Review, Notice of Consultation. So that would have been in your package, you would have got that. And we have the Bill 5, is that correct?
Yeah, so that's the first one, and then that's.
And then Bill 5,
That's a big long one.
resolution, support resolution. So, moved by Councillor Pape, seconded by Deputy Mayor Winans, be resolved that council received the correspondence from the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville regarding phase 2 of the agriculture area review for information. Any questions, concerns on that? Discussion, no, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Next we have, I'm gonna read all this, don't I? Moved by Councillor Pape, second by Deputy Mayor Winans, whereas all Ontarians deserve and expect a safe and respectful workplace, and whereas municipal governments as democratic institutions most directly engaged with Ontarians need respectful discourse, and whereas several incidents in recent years of disrespectful behavior or workplace harassment have occurred amongst members of municipal councils, whereas these incidents seriously and negatively affect the people involved and lower public perceptions of local governments. And whereas municipal codes of conduct are helpful tools to set expectations of council member behavior. And whereas municipal governments do not have the necessary tools to actively enforce compliance with municipal codes of conduct. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the municipality of Augusta supports the call of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario for the Government of Ontario to introduce legislation to strengthen municipal codes of conduct and compliance with them in consultation with the municipal governments. Be it further resolved that legislation encompass the Association of Municipalities of Ontario's recommendations for updating municipal codes of conduct to account for workplace safety and harassment, creating a flexible administrative penalty regime adapted to the local economic and financial circumstances of municipalities across Ontario, increasing training of municipal integrity commissioners to enhance the consistency of investigations and recommendations across the province, allowing municipalities to apply to a member of the judiciary to remove a sitting member if recommended through the report of a municipal integrity commissioner, prohibit a member so removed from sitting for election in the term of removal and the subsequent term of office. Be it further resolved that this resolution be circulated to the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Association of Municipalities Ontario, and MPP Steve Clark. Any discussion, questions on that? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Next, we'll have, moving the committee of the whole. Moved by Deputy Mayor Winans, seconded by Councillor Fate, be resolved that council resolve itself in the committee of the whole meeting. All in favor? Carried. Yeah. Yes, sir. First we have the, United Counties, really we haven't had, I don't think, we had a joint services meeting, but that's about it. And, if I remember correctly, and they fell short on the budget. And CAO's gonna have to help me out there, cause I gave the information on that, but it came to about 1.9 million. If I remember correctly, a lot of it was paramedic service, and it's a fog what the other one was, but anyway, so all the joint services members, which is 13 of us, will have to make up that. So they're trying in counties to basically find out, again, where they can take money from if they can, but it's still debt, and they'll be knocking at a good municipal door for money. You just don't know how much. Does that set it well?
Yeah, I think the only thing I will add, Mayor, is the WSIB costs, I think, went
Yes,
up as well too.
WSIB, that was.
As well as fuel costs as well too.
So, none of the mayors were pleased to hear that, especially when we just passed the budget. But it happens. And that's the first time it ever happened at counties, so. Maybe Maple View Landing, which is Maple View Retirement Home, the new building they're building, which is Maple View Landing, they're calling it. The opening ceremonies, or the sod turning, whatever you want to call it, is tomorrow at 10:30, and it's at the Joshua Bates Center. So it happens. That's about all I have for counties. So, Deputy Mayor Winans referenced the conservation areas.
I attended the 7th Building Tree Planting in Richmond. It was well attended. Mayor Godwin spoke, and also Mayor Burrows from Elizabeth Kidman. RBC has got a meeting this Thursday coming up, and they're going to work on Category 3 program. That's what's on the agenda. For South Nation, I attended their meeting last Thursday and talked to the CAO about 50 acres that we own across from the North Augusta transfer station. And because John had mentioned to me that looking at maybe putting some wildflowers in there, something for bees. And South Nation's quite interested in working with us, and they're going to look at some funding opportunities and plant some trees and then do a wildflower plantation. So that's all I have.
Good. Any questions for Deputy Mayor? Okay, recreation. So, does anybody in the council have any meetings in between? Councilor Bowman?
Through your worship, there was a meeting at Merck Just a couple updates, the Maitland Family Yard Sale is June 3rd. They were supposed to have a fundraiser this Saturday coming up. It's been postponed till September. They're doing a barbecue and hopefully a fundraiser for disc golf as well. And their hall has been very busy with lots of events.
Anyone else?
I've got, do I go first?
Go ahead.
Okay, so, Donville, they've got, some new gravel's been brought in to, continue the upgrades on the parking lot there. Roebuck, we were supposed to have a meeting this past week, then ran into some scheduling conflicts, and that's now been rescheduled to June 1st. And that's confirmed now, Steve, or Shannon, so, provided it doesn't get rescheduled again, we'll be meeting on June the 1st, and hopefully I'll have more next week.
Okay, thank you.
For North Augusta, the playground is finished, thanks to John. It's all done, they're all happy. And, baseball and soccer, lots of tryouts for registration for that. So I'm quite happy.
Yeah, I've seen the advertisements, yeah. Anyone else? That's it? Okay. Library board, Councilor Bowman?
Through your worship, I wasn't there, but they gave me an update. They were hoping to have senior computer classes and tablet classes and stuff like that starting shortly, but they have postponed them till the fall. And they have their plant and book and yard sale this Saturday from 9 to 1 at the library. They are looking for any donations of plants or books or anything. They'll be at the library Thursday from 1 to 7 to take any donations if anybody has anything they'd like to donate to the library for their sale. And that's it.
Good, thank you. Economic Development Tourism Committee, Councilor Henry?
Through your worship, we don't have a meeting until next month.
Yeah, 2 weeks, I think, you're coming up, yeah. And Deputy Mayor Winans referenced the Planning Committee.
Yeah, the only thing that we had on the planning committee is, after, we were at the cabins, we came back here and there was a presentation on Zoom on the area review. And then you already did the update on that before, so.
Okay. And administration, CAO.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So the only thing I wanted to bring up tonight is we have been taking some inquiries or some complaints in regards to local Airbnbs kind of popping up throughout the community where we're getting people in the bigger cities who are purchasing properties, whether it's along the waterfront, and then renting those out, which are basically unregulated, unsupervised, causing a disturbance to neighbors and residents. One thing we do have for this Thursday's tri-council meeting is we do have that discussion with Eversburg, Cardinal, and Prescott that we'll get some feedback, but certainly wanted to at least bring it to council's attention and certainly see kind of how or where council wants to go moving forward. There's a lot of municipalities that are starting to regulate the licensing of these short-term rentals, where it requires compliance with the Ontario Building Code, compliance with the fire code. It provides certain criteria that they have to meet so that you don't have somebody from, 3-4 hours away who doesn't know the property, just renting it out to anybody they want. But certainly looking for some council's feedback and certainly take that direction forward and then come back hopefully with another plan in June with council.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
Would they have to meet our rental property standards bylaw? They'd be exempt from that.
No, so through you, Mayor Shaver, to Deputy Mayor Winans. No, it'll be totally separate rule of guidelines, and there'll be a bylaw that's associated with just short-term rentals.
I know you may not heard, this is a big problem. Last summer I was called about 3 times, and I think Mayor Malenko was called several times. But there's more and more, especially along the river, there's more and more places being sold and made into B&Bs. So they come for the weekends and they just party, and they trespass on the neighbors' docks and everything else, so, and then loud music and parties, so. Anyway, it's something we've got to address. I've heard Prescott's had issues too, not so much on the water, but right at their town, so. So, anyway, we'll see how our neighbors are doing with the complaints, but this one is we really need to address.
Your worship, I think, a month or so ago, there was that large fire in Montreal where a lot of people passed away. That was an Airbnb rental there as well, so it's definitely, I agree, something we need to look at to make sure that, we want to invite people into the community, we don't want to do it at the mercy of their neighbors.
Well, I know in one instance I'm thinking of, the police were called, there was nothing they could do, because there was no noise bylaw, there was nothing. So, but if we have a bylaw, then the police can act. Thank you, CEO. Is there anything else?
That's everything for tonight.
All right. Fine. Moved by Councillor Page, seconded by Deputy Mayor Winans, be resolved the Council of the Township of Augusta authorize the execution of agreement with Fast Eddie's Auto Recycling to manage and operate waste transfer stations in the Township of Augusta, excuse me, from June 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2025. And I believe the report was in your package, so we're open for discussion. Deputy Mayor Winans?
Reading the contract, I couldn't figure out why we rent one compactor from him and he rents one from us. It either should be his responsibility or ours, I can't, that was kind of confusing why that is. And the other thing is, because now we were taking over the hydro, the care of the porta potty, I guess, and snow plowing, and yet he still wants an increase, and in the report it says it's quite reasonable at 8%, but I think what Stats Canada's trying to do and everything is they're trying to get inflation at 2%. So if we're going as high as 8, we're part of the problem. So, and then on top of that, which we never had in the contract before, there's a cost of living clause. So that could even be higher than 8%. So, just a few concerns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other councillors, any questions? Did you want to make any remarks on that, yeah?
Yeah, so certainly to Deputy Winans, certainly I can take that back to the to Fast Eddie's. It's certainly if you want me to have further discussions with them on it, you know, I can certainly look at to see if there's any opportunities for some savings. But certainly if not, if council is good, then we'll proceed as is. The one thing I will say, it's an 18-month contract, so certainly something we can work on over the next 18 months to make sure that we're bringing, you know, a good contract back that's fair not only to the contractor, but fair to the township as well. So, but it's certainly if council wants me to discuss this further with the contractor, I certainly can do that.
Yeah, well, I would be quite comfortable with you talking that, but I don't want to scuttle the deal, so if he doesn't move, I think we don't have any other options, but at least you should know where we're looking at, and then let him know that, you know, if we have to sign what Steve's agreed upon, then it may be different in at the end of the contract.
Sure.
So we still pass the motion then? Or is it deferred?
You can ask the question, but,
Can
I don't think it's,
we pass it, and then if I do have some good discussion, we could bring it back as an amendment for the next meeting? What's your thought?
yeah, for an 18-month contract, I'm okay, I don't love amendments, so.
Well, I think if, Mayor, I think if we defer it, then the CAO can't go ahead with it. So I think if we leave it, let him deal with it, and he can bring back it, you know, whatever, if he could give us a little better deal or whatever, or he can let us know what Fast Eddie said. But I think we gotta move on this and get it done, so.
So you're saying basically we'll pass, we'll vote on the motion now.
And we'll trust the CAO to do the best.
Is everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. It makes things simple when you do it that way. All right, report 2023-055, and moved by Deputy Mayor Wynan, seconded by Councillor Pate, be resolved that council approve staff to proceed with the Ontario Trillium Foundation Community Investment Grant capital stream application for the upgrades to the recreation halls, specifically the water treatment systems and the keyless entry as outlined in the report. So I think everybody read that. Any discussion? Questions? No? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Henry, seconded by Councillor Bowen, be resolved that council receive the report for information. And I believe this is the report that Councillor Pate did on his recent course. So I'll let you say a few words.
Sure, sounds good.
Few words.
2 words.
For you.
I have it written down, so I'll keep it. So, for those of you that were here 2 weeks ago at our last meeting, you'll notice that I was on that screen rather than in this seat. It's because I was up in North Bay for the Canadian Rural Remote Broadband Conference. It was our first time as a township attending this conference, probably because everybody else being bored to tears, and for me, that's my candy. I found it was an extremely beneficial and eye-opening couple of days. Shannon knows because I came back like a kid in a candy store. So the 2-day conference, it was really, I mean, the name kind of speaks for itself. It was all centered around rural broadband. And to be perfectly honest, a lot of the players that were there were blown away that a community in this area didn't have high-speed internet. What shocked me was the number of companies out there and organizations out there that can help us change that, and relatively quickly, without blowing a budget. I've talked to providers there that did work for 14 homes and got them connected to a network. So we had 2 full days of sessions, ranging everything from economic pressures on rural community projects, well-being, security, resilience, attracting talent to rural areas, open access network competition. The second day was a lot of Indigenous focus, which I found was extremely interesting as well. Not so much relevant for our township, but some really interesting and eye-opening things that came out of that. We had some guest speakers, some fairly, unlike some of the other conferences I've been at where we have a lot of politician-type guest speakers. The guest speakers we had here, they were the doers. These are the ones that are behind the scenes creating the policy. The keynote was by Bram Abramson, who was a commissioner for the Ontario CRTC. Barry Walton, who is the technical solution architect for Corning Optical Solutions. Basically, if you have anything that's got fiber in it, chances are Corning is the one that put that in there. One that was really interesting that I had a chance to connect with individually was a woman named Laura Bradley. She is the general manager for YorkNet, which is the name of the network that they put into the municipality of York, and happens to be an Edwardsburg Cardinal resident. So she's been working in broadband for a number of years and was hired several years ago to build and design their network, and now manages it. A couple of the other interesting sessions we had and then turned into actually face-to-face meetings were with a couple of directors, one from Community Projects for Infrastructure Ontario, and another one from the Ministry of Infrastructure, both of which have now spawned a meeting that we have Friday. I think it was Friday, this coming Friday, it's supposed to be last Friday, with the ministry. They reached out within 24 hours to set up a meeting. We had a number of vendors. It was so much time and everybody there was wide open. You wanted to have a session with somebody, you say, hey, can we connect? And I was able to have one-on-one meetings with a lot of really interesting people. And basically said, look, this is what we're doing. This is kind of where we're at and how can you help? The meetings I had with actually I'll get to the good news in a minute. So just kind of the vendors that were there, probably a lot of names you're not going to recognize. Sienna, you may know. Ottawa, the big office in Ottawa, Explore, probably know Explore, Corning, iValley was one of the vendors that was there. They, we have a meeting with them tomorrow morning. MBSI was another one of the vendors that were there. They handle all of the infrastructure for companies like TrueSpeed, locally. Now, so like I said, shortly after getting home, we immediately got communication from some of these sessions, so it's generated a couple of meetings already. Among the news I got while I was there was the province gave me access to a portal where I can see all of the upcoming high-speed projects for Ontario. And so I have been able to confirm, it's somewhat good news depending on where you live in the township, and not so good news if you live in other areas yet. So in the map is in the email that you sent. I have a printout of it, but it didn't print out very good. But by the end of June, currently targeted by the end of June 2025, Donville, Maynard, and it basically everything in between will be connected to the Cogeco fiber network. And there's another project that's ongoing right now that will be done by the end of 2025. It's only gonna affect a few people in Augusta, and the rest are in Merrickville, Wolford, and North Grenville in the Garrett area. And that's to connect them to an Explore wired network. I'm assuming fiber, they just say wired. So there is some stuff going on. There's still some major gaps, which I'm hoping that we will get some kind of clarification on when we meet later this week as to what the plan is. We do have a meeting tomorrow morning with an organization to look at options, to basically see what's the province and the federal government gonna do, and what can we do to fill some of those gaps as a township or potentially a group of townships kind of working together. Looking at our neighboring townships on this map, and we're actually better off than they are. Some of them don't have anything coming up. So there's definite opportunity, still very early. Shannon and I've had a couple of discussions on it. I think after this week, we should have a pretty decent idea, but I'm thinking if things go kind of well, we get kind of information that we're looking for. A broadband task force is not a bad place to start. And, we can kind of just start putting ideas out there and potentially invite some of the neighboring communities to be part of it, and then see what options are. I mean, it's, from what I've discovered is I thought it would be way more expensive to get something like this started, and it's really not. A lot of these companies will actually help you find the funding that you need to get this stuff done. And surprisingly, the government's really willing to give you the money too. So that's why they want to meet with us to say, hey, how can we help? Like, we want to be part of this. What can we do to help you guys make this happen? And they came to us. So that's a huge start. When the government starts coming to you and offering to help, I take that as a positive first step. So that's my info. It's all in there. Any questions, feel free to let me know. Don't have a location for next year yet. I teased the idea of maybe Brockville, which would be really cool. But I think it's definitely, I got way more out of it than I ever expected it would be. So it was definitely beneficial for me to go, and we'll see what comes out of it.
Great. Any questions for Councillor?
Great report, Councillor Big.
And if anybody wants that link, feel free to let me know. I can send it over so you can kind of see.
No, good, very good report. We're thankful to have your knowledge on this council, because it's all above our head, most of it. But no, I'm glad you got something out of it.
It was really good.
No, the report was good. The only thing I may mention, just because it was your first report, is you refer to Shannon as CAO. Does someone reading that report 5 years from now?
Shannon.
Who's Shannon? Yeah,
Makes sense.
so.
Yeah.
Just use the title, that's all. But very minor and excellent, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Call the votes, no questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Moved by Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Henry, be resolved that council authorize the mayor and the clerk to award the one-year contract for pest control management to Orkin Pest Control. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that? No? Did you wanna say anything, John, on that? You don't have to, but I just. No? Good, okay. Just give the opportunity, that's all. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Planning and building services, we don't have any reports. Protective services, we don't have any, but a lot of chiefs here, so I'll ask him if he has anything. No?
No, thank you, Your Worship, all good.
So, we'll return to the regular meeting. Moved by Councillor Henry, seconded by Councillor Bowen, be resolved that council move to regular meeting of council. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Oh, there's no, any new and unfinished business? Notice of motions? Bylaws? Okay, we have one bylaw. And bylaw 3634-2023, agreement for waste management services. Moved by Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Henry, be resolved that bylaw number 3634-2023 being a bylaw to enter into agreement with Fast Eddie's Auto Recycling to manage the transfer stations in the township of Augusta from May 31st, 2023 to December 31st, 2025, be read first time, second time, and a third time, and be enacted as read. Discussion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Announcements. Tri-council meeting is confirmed, 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock at the Maitland Firehouse. Okay, so will everybody be there? Do they know this time?
I will be there, but I'll be late.
You're late, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I'll be there by 6:30.
I have a Rideau Valley meeting that night.
Oh, okay, all right. Are they sending the agendas out?
We send the agendas out in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Also, Spencerville Fair is coming up in the fall there. They are looking for volunteers. So if you want to be involved in that, reach out to me. It's always hard to get volunteers for that.
Yeah, I should have stepped down as director because the meetings are the same night as ours.
Yeah. Okay, any other announcements? Yes.
I do have one, after our Nutera plant visit, and I may mention, we do have one in the township already at Avna Village. Then we were invited to Public Works, and thanks John for having a birthday cake for me. I know it wasn't quite planned, but thank you anyway.
Perfect
And
timing.
also, the mayor, CEO Shannon and myself, John gave us a tour of Public Works and the new equipment that we have just purchased, so, yeah, it all looks good. Thank you.
And while the opportunity existed, John, to decide to put in his 2 cents, saying maybe, actually it came from Mr. Dawson, it was a good idea to possibly put the new equipment under a roof. So maybe for future, we can erect or build something, a coverall or something to protect the equipment. Because we spend a lot of equipment, we spend a lot of money in equipment, and it's not always you can keep it under roof the way they're situated there, because they need the sand, the salt, etc. Not like the fire department, where everything's in the building, so we should treat it the same. So you may want to think about that.
Absolutely.
But thank you very much for. Yeah.
I just mentioned just an announcement. I should have had it all prepared for you, but I forgot, so I'll just say it if that's all right. So the McDougall Insurance Company has a little community grant that they do. First place 5,000, second 3, and third is 1,000. And I was on the website and I noticed that the Food for All Food Bank for the South Granville actually submitted an application, if you will, and it's an application based on how many votes they get. So I will forward the link to everyone, and if you can spread it as widely as possible, it's a good cause. They might as well try to help them get, even $1,000 would probably go a long way for them.
Definitely.
Good. Any other announcements?
Yeah, I do have one other, it just came across my desk the other day, the Ottawa Valley Seed Growers, they have a bursary for a student from Eastern Ontario going into second year agricultural program. And if anybody knows of a student that's taking an ag course, they can go through, get them to contact the Ottawa Valley Seed Growers.
Good. Okay, continue. All right, questions on the agenda items for the press? I don't believe we have any press, no. Questions on the agenda items for the public? Lori, do you have anything for us?
No.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for coming. Next, we have a closed session. Moved by Councillor Henry, second by Councillor Bowman. Be resolved that council move into a closed meeting at 6:40. As per Municipal Act C-25 SL 2001, Section 239, brackets 2, to discuss proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality, proposed acquisition of land by the municipality, education session,